everyone, I'm Melanie Flores, and today I'm joined by Katie Brock. And in today's picture show, we will be talking about the new movie, It Chapter 2, It Ends. First off, I would like to say that if you have not seen the movie, there will be some spoilers throughout the show. Now let's take a look at the trailer.
And so you, when you leave this town, the farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
To the losers.
We made an oath.
Swear? If it isn't dead, if it ever comes back, we'll come back too.
We didn't stop it.
Pennywise.
The clown.
We can't let it happen again.
Hello?
Kid! Hello. Please.
For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I missed you.
We need to finish it. For good.
I've seen all of us die. It consumes us from the inside until we don't have a choice anymore.
You lied. And I died. You lied! And I died!
All right, after seeing the trailer, Katie, I was wondering what your thoughts of what you thought about the movie when you saw the trailer.
Well, overall, I thought the trailer was very enticing. Just they had the aspect of what you would expect a Stephen King movie to be. It was very haunting. You know, there wasn't much left. You would think, seeing the trailer, there wasn't much left to question. Like, it covers the basics of everything. The kids are all grown up. They're back to defeat it. But the overall sense was, you know, there was a lot more to the movie than the trailer portrayed. So I wouldn't really say that the trailer did the movie much justice. You know, it was very basic in a sense. There's a lot more under the surface than you would expect from the trailer.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think about seeing the actors that they added on for them as adults?
I thought the casting for this movie was absolutely great. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, so I thought that the new concept of it was wonderful. But I'm also a huge Finn Wolfhard fan. So I loved seeing him casted as Richie in the original movie, and I thought that casting Bill Hader as Richie,
yes,
all grown up, was wonderful casting. Especially, same thing with James McAvoy. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves James McAvoy. His acting is absolutely wonderful. So overall, same thing with the casting for Beverly. Thought that every character fit the actor very well. The same thing, actor fit the character. And the casting for Eddie, both the younger and adult version. There's a scene in the movie where they overlap the younger Eddie with the older Eddie, and they are almost identical. Mm-hmm. So I thought the casting there was absolutely wonderful as well.
Yeah, I also, it seemed really interesting to me because you connect with them as kids, mm-hmm, and watching them as adults. What was it like? What did you learn from the character development and seeing them grow?
I'm really big on character development. It's my favorite part of any kind of storyline. So I thought that showing how the traumas of their past followed them into adulthood, even though the whole premise of them leaving the city of Derry, they forget what happened as far as with Pennywise when they were children. You know, they have no recollection of the events until they get the phone call from Mike basically telling them that it's happening again. And the closer they get back to Derry, the more they remember. So it's interesting to see how as adults they still carry that trauma with them. And it's interesting to see throughout the storyline how these things come back to them and how they are forced to remember these things in order to ultimately defeat Pennywise at the end, or it. So I thought the character development was wonderful. They were able to, I wouldn't say they were able to overcome a lot of their childhood trauma, because you know, there's not really much you can overcome from
It's a part of them.
A demon clown coming after you when you're 12, 13, 14 years old. So it was interesting to see that they captured that so boldly in the movie. They made it very obvious, but there were still underlying psychological effects that you had to kind of pick out yourself.
Well, we're learning a lot about it, and but all right. Up next, we're going to take a look at what's next. It's coming up to streaming and DVD.
If any of the children you know are among the estimated 15 million who take care of themselves between the time they get home from school and the time their parents get home from work, a look at after-school programs might be of interest. According to Colorado State University, more than 4 out of 10 children in kindergarten through 8th grade participate in such activities at least once a week. These programs can keep children safe, help them develop social skills, and improve their academic performance. High school students in after-school programs tend to be optimistic about the future and have more interest in school than their peers. They're also more likely to attend college, vote, and volunteer as adults, reports the Journal of Adolescent Research. After-school programs help with career exploration, skill development, service learning, and internships. It's estimated every dollar spent on after-school programs saves taxpayers $3 because of reductions in youth crime, teen parenthood, and school dropout rates. That may be why so many parents, teachers, and others are urging their communities to support after-school programs. If you're into basketball for fun and fitness, or would like to be, heeding a few hints can help you up your game. First, when shooting, square up to the basket with both feet pointing at it. Make sure your power is coming from your legs, not your arms, and remember to follow through on your shot. Next, for your passes to be more than passable, don't throw directly at the players you want to catch them. Throw to where those players will be, so no one has to slow down to catch the pass. When your teammates have the ball, create passing lanes so they can hit you with the pass. Use your hands to create targets. Don't watch the ball when you dribble it. Keep your head up. Also, try to learn to dribble with either hand. When playing defense, know where your opponents are. When a shot goes up, face the basket while boxing the closest opponent out. That way, even if you don't catch the rebound, perhaps a teammate will.
Hey guys, I'm James Farrar with this week's Streaming and DVD. New to Hulu, we have Hotel Mumbai, starring Dev Patel and Armie Hammer. The true story of the Taj Hotel terrorist attack in Mumbai. Hotel staff risk their lives to keep everyone safe as people make unthinkable sacrifices to protect themselves and their families. New to Netflix, we have Norm of the North, king-size adventure starring Jennifer Cameron and Brian Dobson. An ancient Chinese artifact has been stolen by a villainous archaeologist named Dexter. With the help of his leeming friends, Norm must keep his word and embark on a journey across the world to help recover the artifact for the people of China. Also on Netflix, we have Eat, Pray, Love, starring Julia Roberts and Javier Bardem. A married woman realizes how unhappy her marriage really is and that her life needs to go in a different direction. After a painful divorce, she takes off on a round-the-world journey to find herself. New to DVD, we have Aladdin, starring Will Smith, Mina Musad, and Naomi Scott. A kind-hearted street urchin and a power-hungry grand visor vie for a magical lamp that has the power to make their deepest wishes come true. Next, John Wick 3, starring Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry. Super assassin John Wick is on the run after killing a member of the International Assassins Guild, and with a $14 million price tag on his head, he's the target of hitmen and women everywhere. Finally, The Dead Don't Die, starring Bill Murray and Adam Driver. The peaceful town of Centerville finds itself battling a zombie horde as the dead start rising from their graves. That's it for this week's Streaming and DVD. I'm James Farrar. Now let's get you back over to the picture show.
All right, everyone. We were just talking about the It Chapter 2 It Ends movie, and I'm here with Katie Brock, and we were just discussing the character development, and now we're going to move on to casting. So, Katie, what did you think about their choices, and what were your favorites?
Yeah, no, I mean, I already kind of touched on my favorites as far as casting goes, but I thought the casting was brilliant as far as the overall characters. And something else that really caught my eye as far as casting, I wouldn't really say it was casting, but Stephen King is very big on doing cameos in his movies. And there's a storyline for one of the characters that James McAvoy plays. He's kind of the main character. He plays Bill, and Bill's like the leader of the gang or whatever. So the storyline for Bill is that he grew up and he became a famous writer, and his writers were turned into movies. So it's very kind of synonymous with what Stephen King does. Mm-hmm. So Stephen King is very big on doing cameos in his own movies. So there's a scene where Bill goes back to this little antique shop in his hometown, and Stephen King is the shop owner there. And I love it because they, go into the shop and you see Stephen King, and I get so excited to see him. But this is probably one of the longest cameos I believe he's ever done in a movie of his. And he makes the joke that, earlier on in the movie they say that all of Bill's book endings are horrible. Everyone hates them. So, Bill walks into the store and he's talking about this bike he sees in the window. And he's like, how much will you take for the bike? And Stephen King's like, well, you're the big writer, man. You can afford it. And just the underlying humor that Stephen King puts into his movies, and especially this particular cameo, I absolutely loved. And that was another aspect of what I saw in the movie that was very Stephen King-esque, was there was so much blatant humor in this movie. You're expecting to go in and get this terrifying horror movie. And it was. There were absolutely some wonderful aspects of horror in the movie that even I wasn't expecting. Yeah. But the humor in it was just nonstop. There are scenarios that you would expect to just be absolutely bone-chilling. And, they'll throw in some humor there.
You need that break.
Exactly, yeah. You get the whole theater laughing. You get a sense of what Stephen King's writing really is, and you get that on screen. And I was a huge fan of that in this movie.
Yeah. And with that being said, with him being a part of the film and having a hand so heavily in it, is there anything that you would change about the film or add? Or?
Well, obviously the book was massive. It's a very big book. There's a lot of aspects in the book that, couldn't be included in the movie. And even then, it's still a 3-hour-long movie. Mm-hmm. But, there were a couple scenes that are prevalent to the story of it. For example, in the book, there's a scene where Bill's wife finds him in Derry. And, that's a very prevalent scene in the original storyline, but, that wasn't included in this one. And I've heard a lot of people who are huge fans of the original state that, we missed this in the new movie, or we missed that. But to be quite honest, there wasn't much that I thought they could have included as far as to tie in the whole story. They got the basics compared to the original movie. They all come back together. They show the how the storylines affect the characters. They go on to the end to defeat it. They pretty much tied everything together in a way that I felt was substantial for Stephen King's storyline of it as a whole.
And do you think that it would be a good film for maybe people who are just discovering Stephen King to watch that?
Absolutely, yeah. Cujo is honestly one of my favorite Stephen King movies of all time. Mm-hmm. I actually saw the movie first and read the book afterwards. But with that being said, I believe that we are about to go to another break.
Yeah.
So when we come back, I would love to further discuss that with you.
Yep. Just as Katie said, we're about to go to another break.
When you earn your GED diploma, the barriers in your life fall. Take the first step and get free GED information in your area at 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or yourged.org. Earn your GED diploma and begin your brighter future.
Hey guys, Kayla Kennedy here with this week's Friday Flick Pick. Coming out this week, we have The Goldfinch, starring Finn Wolfhard, Nicole Kidman, and Sarah Paulson. The Goldfinch tells the tale of young Theodore Decker, who loses his mother in a terrorist bombing in a museum. As he grows up and spirals into a life of crime, his touchstone and source of comfort is a small painting of a goldfinch by Rembrandt pupil Carol Fabritios. Now let's take a look at the trailer.
In Amsterdam, I dreamt I saw my mother again. Same beautiful pale blue eyes.
This is the one I was talking about.
When I lost her, I lost sight of any landmark that might have led me someplace happier.
You're the boy, aren't you? The boy whose mother was killed.
Can you sleep from the other side?
We all feel afraid sometimes.
You never know what's going to decide your future. Something that should have been immortal. Please tell me it isn't true.
Well, that's it for this week's Friday Flick Pick. I'm Kayla Kennedy. Let's get you back to the picture show.
All right, everyone, we are coming back to the picture show, and I'm here with Katie Brock, and we were just discussing Stephen King's films and a kind of an introductory into the It Chapter 2, It Ends film, and if you thought that that was a good introductory and your kind of like your favorite Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah, so as I said before the break, that Cujo is one of my all-time favorite Stephen King adaptations. I saw the movie before I read the book, so I got an idea of what Stephen King really thought was important in his films, and that's really prevalent. As I stated previously, what he felt was important, what the directors and writers of this particular adaptation of It, what they felt was important for the audience and the storyline as a whole. So overall, I would think that, if you've never seen a Stephen King movie before, that It Chapter 2 and, this adaptation as a whole perfectly embodies what I believe personally would be a great introduction to Stephen King. And there's so many other good movies. I know they made a remake of Carrie as well.
Yeah.
And I saw that one when it first came out. And I was a huge fan of it, having never seen the original film. Again, it embodied what I felt Stephen King was trying to portray. And you could see a lot of little things here and there in it. There's a particular scene where the creature is playing like a psychological game with the kids who are now the adults, and Beverly gets locked in like a makeshift bathroom stall. It's a very claustrophobic area, and there's pieces of her past coming back and breaking down the door and trying to get in at her. And there's a particular scene where the so-called villain in this show, it's Henry Bowers. He's a bully from their childhood. He's all grown up, and he sticks his head in the door with his knife, and he says the line, "Here's Johnny," like from The Shining.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved that. I thought it was just the perfect touch of humor for that scene. And there were other aspects I felt that were Easter eggs in that particular scene as well. The whole time she's in the bathroom stall, there's just a flow of blood coming in, which is, I feel like, a shot at Carrie. It's a touch on The Shining. There's a scene in The Shining where the blood comes in the hallway. There were just a lot of scenes like that I felt like they threw in for longtime Stephen King fans, especially film fans. So I love that aspect of the movie as a whole. Because they made it very obvious of, here's a little piece of this, here's a piece of that. And Stephen King is actually very good at doing things like that in his films. He'll throw something random in there. And he's very big on using Maine as, his topic of conversation. He's from Maine, so that's where a lot of his stories take place. And you can see in a lot of his films, I feel like if you watch it and you decide to watch any of his other films, you can see that everywhere that, some of his stories tie into others. There's characters that are reoccurring in different stories that have nothing to do with each other. So, with that being said, I think that there's a new Pet Sematary coming out, a new Pet Sematary adaptation. And I'm really excited to see that compared to how big it has become over the last couple of years.
Yeah. It's really interesting because he is kind of like his own universe.
Yes.
And people are so obsessed with it. And I don't think there's one author that their work has been made into so many adaptations.
Oh, yeah. And, you can compare his work to, Stephanie Meyers with Twilight was big. Obviously, J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter. Yeah. Disappointingly enough, Rick Riordan with the Percy Jackson series.
Yeah.
Stephen King is such a well-known name. He's been such a well-known writer for so long that I feel like he is that top tier that, is just, like you said, his own universe. It's a completely different world of his own that he has created through his writing and through his films.
Yeah. And people just really enjoy his stories. And it really resonates with them, and that's why I think he's so appreciated and why there's so many films.
And which I think is, there's a bit of humor in that, honestly, because if you read Stephen King's stories, they're just absolutely so twisted. There's such a deep psychological aspect to any of his stories.
Yeah.
And, like you said, the fact that would resonate with people is not really disturbing, but it's interesting.
It's human.
Yeah, just to see that there's so many people that have thoughts like that, this writer can touch so many different people with his words. And I think a funny thing about Stephen King is that he believes in, like, the closet monster. A lot of people when they're kids, they grow up and they are afraid of the monster in the closet or under the bed or whatever, but he's a firm believer in that. He's well into his 60s, 70s, and he still believes in stuff like that. He's kept his imagination and that childlike fear his entire life, which I think is interesting in the concept of it, because that's what the creature feeds on, and it is that childlike fear. And it shows in the adult aspect of it that everyone keeps that childhood fear.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form, you are going to constantly have, those fears that everyone has. So, the overall of it and Stephen King, I think that this movie was absolutely wonderful. It embodied Stephen King's work perfectly.
Yes.
And 10 out of 10 would recommend, absolutely.
Yes. So just as Katie said, Chapter 2, It Ends, is a great movie to see. And that's all the time we have for the picture show today. Thanks for tuning in with us. From all of us, have a good day.